Well, at least that was better than Off Blast. Hey guys, welcome to another edition. Welcome to another wonderful edition of NeviCast. This is your boy, Fearless Billy Nwanda, the plunderer of riches, the stealer of women, and the taker of hearts. And sitting next to us is, first off, we will start with the Delivery Man.
Adan here. Good evening. How are you?
And of course, next to him,
Ich heiße Hans. You will die.
Man of a few words right there. And of course, joining us for this week is none other than our broski Jared, who is returning from quite a bit of an absence.
Yeah. That's right, the Ultimate Weeaboo is back. And once again, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Yes. Hopefully this will not end up like the last recording we had with you. Yeah. That was not fun. Basically, when we did a podcast recording with Jared last time, like, the audio was just kind of, garbled.
Yeah, everybody, the audio just somehow mysteriously disappeared. And I still maintain to this day that there was a conspiracy brought on by Nwanda. It's because I said bad things about the Switch. So that's why the audio disappeared.
Good times.
William tinkered with it.
And no one suspects me. Joke's on you.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and kick things off. Let's get our gaming stuff started. I'll kind of lead things off with I've been playing like Breath of the Wild for the last few days, and that shit is just fucking spectacular. It's so good. Even though it's an open world game, it's a lot more stable than you would think, mainly because of a lot of the physics system, a lot of the coding they put into it. Really, really nice stuff. You know, it's structured very differently. You can wander basically anywhere the fuck you want to. As long as you are careful about, like, I mean, you do have to be careful about certain things. Like, if you get high up into the mountaintops, you better have cold resistant stuff. If you're going to, like, say, Death Mountain, you're going to catch on fire unless you have something that's, like, flame resistant. But, like, other than, like, even stuff like that, that's pretty easy to prepare for as long as you know how to cook the right foods, the right, like, make the right elixirs, all that nice little jazz. And, of course, there's also clothing that you can get, too, that also gives you those buffs naturally.
One of the questions I have is, how big is the map?
The map is pretty gigantic. Like you played Ocarina of Time and, like, Wind Waker, right?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
I'm the anti-Nintendo. I don't like them guys.
Yeah, this is true. I keep forgetting that.
But I have played, you know, every other open world game that's out there. So if you give a comparison, like, it's about as big as Red Dead Redemption or maybe even Skyrim.
No,
it's as small as No More Heroes. You know, you could say stuff like that.
Actually,
No More Heroes did not need an open world
Yeah,
segment.
I just said that
was
just to mess with Hobbs.
completely superfluous.
I know, that was just to mess with Hobbs, that little dig there.
no, like, I think from what I understand, like, and I'm probably going to need to be corrected on this when I look at this later on, but they did say it was about, like, much substantially bigger than Skyrim. About 3 to 4 times bigger.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like one of the YouTubers I follow did a run where he basically started at the very bottom point of Hyrule and went to the top. And it took him, like, 30 minutes just to get that done.
Okay.
Whereas with both Ocarina, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker, it was only, like, a 5-minute trek. So, yeah, they really built a pretty substantial world into this one. And the neat thing is that it's all built in to be seamless. Like, the only times that you really have to worry about loading screens are when you die.
Which apparently happens often.
Jeez and Chryslers, yeah, it does.
Do chickens still kill you?
Yes, chickens still kill you. But the fun part is that if you time that shit right, chickens will kill the fuck out of all your enemies, too. Like I was
awesome.
like a really good example I was watching of a GIF of there's a Link holding the fucking Cuckoo.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Wandering down, and like the moblin hits the Link, but also hits the Cuckoo, and it's like the rain of chickens descends.
The chicken wrath.
Wrath of the chicken. Speaking of like wrath of stuff, like another thing that you have to start worrying about with this game is weather effects. The rain is not going to be your friend, especially when it gets into lightning. If you're wearing any metal equipment on you, you will be struck down and killed immediately by lightning.
That's kind of weird.
But the other fun part of it too is that again it also affects your enemies. If you like are wandering onto a camp when it's raining, and they're all sitting there, they're grabbing for their swords and stuff, bam, their asses will get struck by lightning too.
How often does that happen? It sounds like that could be pretty annoying. Is that like a pretty infrequent, or does it? I don't know.
It depends on the region.
Okay.
Like this one particular region I went up to, which I won't give spoilers. It's kind of in basically the top right of the Hyrule map. Storms and rainy weather do frequently happen there, but there's a lot of areas of Hyrule where rain doesn't really touch much at all.
Okay.
So
Just avoid Hylian Seattle and you're fine.
Yep.
yeah, and also be very careful around Central Hyrule, especially Hyrule Castle, because the Guardians will fuck you up. Yeah, like, but it's pretty nice. Like, I mean, the other thing you have to get used to is that you will die quite a bit. Like one particular instance, I was trying to beat this one camp. Like it was a moblin and a bunch of bobkins, and I think I died about like 10 or 12 times before I finally managed to pull it off.
Did you at least get your blood stain each time?
No, unfortunately not.
What is that?
A Dark Souls reference.
Oh, okay.
No, like what it finally ended up, what I had to do was like I just kept throwing myself at the enemies and dying every time. Finally, what I just said to do is like I just said fuck it. I went back to town. I cooked 2 food items. One was a stealth boost. The other one was a defense boost. So I basically snuck into the camp and got extremely close to the moblin, which is the super big baddie that wanders around these camps a lot. And then used my bomb arrow, hit him with a direct shot to the head, which pretty much finished him off almost instantaneously. So when the other Bobkins realized what was going on and then started coming up to me, I then immediately ate my defense up food, and with that buff, I was able to withstand the assault. Because the green Bulbakins are actually a lot more powerful than the red ones you probably see in a lot of the trailers and stuff for the game. And they can basically fuck you up with one hit. Like, they can take out like 5 hearts like that. So, yeah, like, you pretty much have to approach a lot of these battles, like, very carefully. Hell, I was even doing this one bit where I was trying to get to a shrine, and there were 2 Bulbakins on horseback, and they both had fire arrows. And this was with me at, like, 7 hearts, and I was still getting one-shotted. Like, it took me a few times to basically, like, figure out a pattern to where I could sneak around to them and get into a perimeter enough to where I could fire off an arrow that would take them out, like, right then and there. So, yeah, there's a lot more strategy, a lot more, like, skill you have to use when you're doing around the camps. The shrines are, for the most part, like a complete different challenge from that. It's a lot about puzzles on that one. So if you're a really big puzzle solver, you will find a stuff that will be a lot for your fancy there. And then, like, the dungeons, I've only done one of the Divine Beast dungeons so far, but it's structured very similar to the shrines. Like, not too much on the combat, much more about the puzzle solving on those. So, yeah,
So basically what you're saying is the game is a 0 out of 10?
And there's the judgment from Jared right there.
Not enough grass, 0 out of 10. No, what's your honest review, though? Don't say 10 out of 10. No game is perfect.
No game is perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this, like, when it comes to me and doing, like, so-called game reviews, like, I mean, of course, like, I haven't gotten all the way through the game yet, so I can't issue out anything definitive.
Oh, sure you can. I mean, even though you haven't beaten it yet, per se, you still have a general feel. Do you think you're going to play more? Do you think it's going to take up all your time? You know, how are you feeling about the game, I guess, is in a number form, I guess is what I'm asking for.
I wouldn't even give it a number form because I hate numbers. Instead, what I would say is, like, for me, it's worth the purchase.
Okay, that's good.
We'll say it that way. I usually tend to assess, like, whether a game is, like, really, like, it's not like, oh, it's got to be game of the generation material, because there's a lot of, like, what's called, you know, AA stuff that I think is better than most of the AAA product that's been put out in the last few years.
I can agree with that.
So when I equate games, I tend to think of, you know, is this game going to be something that's worth my $60? And I would have to say my initial thought of Zelda is that, yeah, it is.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Zelda. And then I know, Jared, you're wanting to talk about a couple games coming up, so fire away.
I am really excited about Mass Effect Andromeda, which comes out here in about 2 weeks. I've been a huge fan of the series and have played the trilogy over multiple times on both PC and then on PS3. So I'm getting pretty hyped for the game. Just, I have a few issues about it. It's just, it seems like ever since the first game, they've tried to make them more and more casual friendly. And so I was watching some of the developer videos that YouTube has been putting out, and they're saying that in this game, they are removing the class system almost in its entirety. So what you have now is a game where you still have your class archetypes, but you can, quote-unquote, switch them on the fly in battles. So you don't have to... I mean, for me, it feels like it takes some of the replay value out of the game, because one of the things is playing through as an adept or playing through as a soldier, and it changes your experience, because you take different teammates with you based on what you're using, because, you know, you want to have your three-man team to just basically cover all your weaknesses. But now it doesn't even matter, because you can do whatever you want. So for me, it just seemed... I'm still excited about the game because I'm a fan of, you know, space exploration and shooting guns and banging hot alien chicks. But yeah, a little worried, a little bit worried on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an unfortunate deal too. But I mean, I do know that after Mass Effect 3, a lot of their team members kind of bolted off.
Really?
So yeah, a lot of them kind of took off for greener pastures, different development studios and whatnot. So. It could have been a lot of the streamlining they had to do was probably out of necessity in order to just keep the franchise going with the members that they had left.
Well, my biggest fear is that they'll make it too much like Inquisition. Yeah.
What is Inquisition?
Dragon Age Inquisition. It came out 2015?
Roundabout.
Yeah,
Roundabout,
2015. And what they did to that game is criminal, because the original Dragon Age was almost like a Baldur's Gate game, where it was a top-down RPG where you had all your stats were manually allocated. It was point and click, you know, to fight your enemies, and it had a really, really engaging story that you could play through multiple times. And then 2 happened. Yeah, Hobbs, how was Dragon Age 2?
I would rather have all my toes cut off one by one and then force-fed to me than play Dragon Age 2.
Exactly. And then Dragon Age Inquisition came out, and they made it open world. See, there's that word again. So yeah, I'm just kind of worried because, you know, Dragon Age didn't do so well, but that's going to be kind of like their model. They even have multiplayer in Mass Effect Andromeda, which is going to be in a similar style of Inquisition's multiplayer.
I didn't know Inquisition had multiplayer.
Oh yeah, that is multiplayer.
Yeah,
Nobody
there's
played it.
multiplayer on it.
I mean, it had free expansions. That was the only good thing you could say about it.
Mass Effect 3 had multiplayer, and I
Yep.
tried that once for about 5 minutes.
Exactly.
But I did not know that Dragon Age Inquisition had multiplayer.
It was it's the same style
Oh.
as Mass Effect's multiplayer. Just, you know,
Except you ain't got guns.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much like that's probably going to be something that's going to be tagged on to every BioWare game from here on out, is multiplayer aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Pointless, stupid multiplayer. Yours for just the cost of this game that you were probably going to buy. If we had taken the time to polish the things you actually wanted to play it for.
Yep, because, you know, $60 is no longer enough.
Yeah, you gotta have the whole like $90 to $100 deal.
Microtransactions, man.
Yeah, even Zelda got hit with the DLC
What?
boat.
It
Yeah,
has No, Zelda doesn't have microtransactions, does it?
it's got a expansion pass.
Oh, okay. For what? Are they adding more to the map or what?
Yeah, well, from what I understand, they're going to be adding, like, there's a few things you get, like, right off the bat. And then, like, down the line, they're going to be adding another dungeon. And, like, with its own, like, little quest storyline on it. Nice little jazz. And they're supposed to be adding some other stuff as well.
Multiplayer with one player playing Link and the other playing Zelda.
It'll be like No Man's Sky multiplayer.
No one actually pays attention to it.
Well, no, the world is just so big in Legend of Zelda that there's no chance you'll ever run into another player. They could be way over there for all we know. But they're still there. Don't question
Sure
us.
they are.
Don't question us
Yeah.
about that.
Totally.
Yes.
Everybody playing No Man's Sky.
Yep.
It's
All
okay,
two of
Jared.
them.
I get that reference.
You get it?
Yes.
Oh, as do I. I'm just giving him a hard time.
Okay. But that was it for my gaming news. Just Mass Effect Andromeda. Cannot wait.
Yeah,
But still
also,
very
well,
pensive.
plus there's still Persona 5 on the horizon, too.
Yeah, Persona 5 also coming out April 4th, I believe. Persona 5 is going to be fantastic. It's going to be game of the year, 10 out of 10. Don't question it, just buy it. Buy it like 4 times. Yeah. And I've been a really big fan of the Persona series since 3, because, 1 and 2 don't exist, if you listen to some people. But, I've been doing my best to avoid everything about the game, because I don't want to get spoiled, because, if you look on gaming sites on YouTube, you're going to run into spoilers for just about everything, so... I'm trying to stay out of it. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I've just seen some of the gameplay that they've released in English with the translation already. Because one of my biggest fears would be that if they do it like they did with Persona 4, and that Atlas would localize it and Americanize it, and not just translate directly. So they put a lot of American jokes and stuff like that into the game, and I don't know. I feel it doesn't really do the game justice when it's supposed to be taking place in Japan with a bunch of Japanese kids using American slang. It's just like, I don't know. Either way, still excited about the game. So,
What is it that you like about the series?
about Persona, dungeon crawling, and the fact that it's like the adult version of Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, you literally got to catch them all.
Okay.
It's the same where you collect monsters. They all have their own different abilities. You don't battle them against each other. They just help you out in combat and that sort of thing. But it's a really engaging game because not just the dungeon crawling and the combat, it's a quote-unquote life simulator where you play as a character and you're moving to this new town, and so you have to make what are called social links in the game, where you go out and meet people, socialize, talk to them, help them out, and then you get rewards for your character. Because the thing about Persona is that it's all mental. And we could talk further about that capacity of it, where it's all the strength of your will determines how well you do. I mean, in the story aspect of the game. So it's really interesting if you dig a little bit deeper into it. But yes, that's why I'm interested in Persona 5, guys.
You should talk about it next
Persona
time,
5,
then.
guys. Yeah, we should.
Yeah, that's right.
We should talk about it on Tuesday, like we planned.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tuesday. Yeah. All right.
I'm mocking you both, by the way.
I know.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Good times with weapons. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much like for our gaming talk.
We
for
love
this.
Hobbs here.
Yes. Hans' love, Hans' life. But yeah, we're pretty much wrap up our gaming talk for this time around. And now it's time for Adan's Corner! Where our delivery man will go in depth into something that is, bugging him this week. So take it away, Adan.
Yes, what's grinding your gears?
So last show, I said that I was going to talk about this show that I don't think anybody has watched, Diabloick Lovers.
I have not.
No. Okay. So, it seems that all the shows that I watch, nobody else has watched.
That's not true, man. I watched like 2 episodes of what was it? Of Psychopaths. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Oh, one quick note about Psychopaths.
Yes.
Not to take away from your corner here, sir, but
No.
I was really, really interested
it.
in the fact that the art style is done by the same person that did Katekyo Hitman Reborn.
Okay. I haven't
Yeah, very
watched that.
interesting.
I haven't watched that one.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah,
No.
don't ever
Okay.
watch it.
Okay.
I'll talk about that another time, but please continue, sir.
Okay. Now, it's going to be short because I realized that it's much deeper than I initially thought. Because I watched the series only once. And there are so many things that happen in an episode that go by so quickly that you need to watch it multiple times to, catch the little symbols in the background, like roses, like buildings,
Yes.
like rain, that kind of stuff. So, in any case, I think what's worth mentioning from Diabloick Lovers, with a K, of course, is that the protagonist is a girl called Yui, but she's, in my opinion, not the protagonist of the show. I think what's most important is the surroundings, what surrounds this character Yui, which are, dun dun dun, vampires. What do you think about vampires, Hobbs?
Yeah, the perfect person to ask.
Nothing? Okay.
He loves them, by the way.
These are male vampires, all of them, and I think what's important is the psychology of men in relation to the female character. So the story goes that this girl goes to this mansion for no good reason other than his dad told her to go, and she just went. So the show doesn't make any sense, and that's why. That's why what's important is the people that are around, like the characters around the main character. And so this girl goes for no good reason to this mansion where she's she's taken by these young men, and of course they're all high schoolers, because Japanese,
because Japan,
they like high schoolers like hell.
Life ends after high school in Japan.
Exactly.
Apparently.
There you go. And that's why they're vampires, because they're dead after that. They're unliving. So, they're like in their 20s or whatever. And so she is taken by these men who have 2 mothers. So there are 5 people and 5 men, and one mother had triplets, so the 3 guys, and then the other woman had the other 2 guys. So when she goes into the mansion, she just says, "Oh, my father sent me here, and I'm here. So what am I gonna do?" And so she becomes their slave. So she's their sacrifice. That's what they call her in the show. And so basically, she's raped throughout the entire show by the vampires. And so the symbolism is fangs equals penis, fangs equals vagina. And so every time that she's being raped, you see what the background of these male characters. And the important figure behind the story of the male characters is the mother, which I think is the key to the entire show, in my opinion. It's like the figure of the mother, which Freud talks about, and who my guru Carl Jung talks about, like later on after he does. And so there's like every character has a different personality, so the different directions that men can have a relationship with their mother. And so like you have
I see.
Yeah. So when a male character goes and sucks the blood / rapes the girl, you see like a flashback of the male character who's raping the girl, of what happened to him while he was growing up, and how his mother treated him when he was growing up.
So is this an attempt to make the male vampires sympathetic characters, or just throw more shit at you?
I think it's not good or bad, it's just understanding where they're coming from.
That would mean making them sympathetic characters.
Not necessarily. You don't, because sympathetic means that you want to feel good about them, or you want to say that they're justified.
Right, you give acceptance to their actions.
And it's not that. I don't think it's that. It's
Well,
just
not
understanding.
necessarily with sympathetic characters. You can see someone who's wretched, pathetic, and they can still be a sympathetic character. You're not, saying that, oh, that's okay what happened to you. No, that's fucking horrible what happened to you.
Yeah, and I think at this point it's a matter of semantics, because it's just understanding where the male character is coming from, because you don't see any background from the girl at all throughout the entire show.
So really it's all about them.
So it's all about them.
Yeah.
And she's basically like the device in which you find out what's going on
Yes.
with all their heads.
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of like a more, insane version of Fruits Basket.
Yes.
Yeah, a very character-driven story. The plot isn't really there, except just to move things along a little bit.
Yeah.
So my question is now, we're gonna venture into spoiler territory here, but how did the series end?
So it's on its second season.
So it's not over.
It's not over.
Wow.
And so that's why I want to go a little deeper from the first season, because I finished watching the second season, and it makes as much season as the first season, so nothing. And so I want to make sense a little more about the first season and make it a little more coherent, because it looks like the second season just said, fuck it, like, let's do something completely different.
Oh, that's weird.
And did something completely different. It doesn't address anything that happened in the previous season.
Does
So
it still have the
it's
same
spoiling.
characters?
It has the same characters, yes.
That's usually it strikes of one of two things when all of a sudden a show does a drastic change like that. It's either one, the mangaka wrote it in there because he probably was forced to change something at the behest of the editors, or the anime production company themselves decided to take things in their own hands because they just felt they were dealing with a nonsensical story, which has happened before.
Yeah. So, and now that I rewatched the first season, because I finished watching the second season, and it didn't make any sense to me, and then I thought, well, if I look at the first season, then maybe it makes sense, and it didn't. But I realized watching the second season a second time that it has much more material, much more content than I initially thought it did. So there will be a second part to my corner of Diabloick Lovers next time.
Cool. I always love series like that where you have to watch it a second time because you end up missing something. Like whenever Hobbs and I are watching Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, there are times it's like, I'm going to have to watch that again. Because they throw stuff at you so quickly,
In
Exactly.
rapid fire.
Yeah,
and
rapid fire.
They'll have a sight gag that they only show for about a second.
Yep, they have a machine gun full of references, and they're just spitting them out. And you're like, wait, what? What? Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah,
But still a great series that will never be licensed.
Nope.
yeah. Kind of like when you watch a lot of Triggers works. There's a lot of like visual and like writing stuff that they have in there.
Also with the Monogatari series.
Yeah,
Yes,
like everything's connected with the Guitari series, though.
Like a good way of demonstrating that the female character is not really the protagonist is that she mysteriously goes into this room that was locked and just magically gets unlocked when she walks by the room, and it's like, oh man, the door is open. Okay, so I'll just go in. So she goes into the room, and she finds her father's diary, the same person that sent her to this mansion randomly. And the diary just says, "Oh, I'm happy to have my daughter, even though she's not my biological daughter." So she's just a female representation. She's not part of anything.
Yeah, that's probably intentional too on the mangaka's part. Like basically maintain an entire separation so that you don't really feel anything for this girl, because all she is like, because they want you to concentrate on the vampire bros.
Exactly.
So that's how it shapes up a lot of the time, though. Although like that whole bit though just reminds me like kind of like Apollo Francisco bit where it's like, like you got the female wandering in through the house. So it's like, Billy, where are you? I'm gonna get off my clothes and take a shower now.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. So
Yeah.
Her one qualifying trait is being female.
yeah,
That's kind of sad.
And what I thought was redeeming of this show featuring vampires again is that like they don't go over like, oh, vampires, like I'm like the sunlight harms me and I can't be in the sun for too long. It's just the vampires sucking blood and the stories behind the vampires. It's nothing about the lore, which drives me insane.
Right.
You know, like 'cause they just make shit up.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, with a lot of Japanese, like, stuff I've noticed when it comes to, like, vampires and werewolves, they tend to ignore lore and legend a lot of the time. And
I don't
basically,
even think it's that. I think they just don't get it right.
well, I mean, and that's because they don't pay attention to shit.
Right.
It's more like, especially with vampires. Like, vampires, they almost always take from a Bishonen-style approach. It's
Yes.
more about
None
how...
of the Nosferatu style.
Yeah, like how pretty can we make them? How can we fluff up their collars even more? Which they kind of all crib from Castlevania Symphony of the Night onwards, rather than more of the Nosferatu style. Even like something like the Lost Boys. Like even though they were all kind of very pretty, they could still fuck you up.
Yeah.
But you don't get that much from Japanese shows in general.
But it's just culture differences because honestly, many things are just not done well when it comes to Japan portraying something else, like especially Western culture. And there are numerous examples.
Well, that and the real life example of vampirism, insofar as people can, is most definitely a Western occurrence.
Yeah.
Only Westerners are batshit crazy enough to try to drink each other's blood to stay pretty.
But even then, whenever they portray other cultures, like any anime you watch that has a quote unquote American in it, it's always some blonde hair, blue eyed guy speaking like Joseph Joestar saying, "Oh my God," or what is going on, stuff like that, in the whole half broken Japanese / American accent. It just they never that's what makes you appreciate shows like Black Lagoon, where they do people very well, no matter where they're from, whether they're Russian or they're black or they're American.
That was an awesome show.
Yeah. That kind of brings.
We shall work on that.
Yeah, that kind of brings up another interesting point too. Like at this point, we're going to kind of seg over to talking like anime stuffs anyway.
Yes.
Haven't we
But
already?
yeah, we kind of have.
Really.
We pretty much have.
We've been on this topic. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Yes. But I mean, I'm just kind of formally declaring it.
Yes.
So
it's not my corner anymore.
But yeah, this brings up an interesting point, like of Japanese when it comes to their handling of the English language, even with dealing with folks who are fluent in English. A really good example of this was Q Ranger, which like got brought over here in no, not Q Ranger.
What series is that? I mean, what?
Like in Power Rangers speak, it was known as Dino Thunder.
Well, I mean, like, what type of tokusatsu was it? Was it the
Sentai, Super Sentai?
What I mean, was it the hero team, or was it something like Kamen Rider? Or
No, it's a hero team, Super Sentai.
Okay.
But yeah, one of the things they did for it was that it was a 10-man team. Like a lot of years, they'll go ahead and do that.
Wow, 10.
Yeah, and
Kind of overkill.
It is really.
Couldn't they just kill the monster before it?
they make it work because, like, especially like when it's the years when they do the larger teams, what it allows them to do, because it's a 50 episode season.
Yeah.
And when they do the larger teams, it gives them the ability to do more variances, focuses on characters. Because that's how Sentai usually gets laid out, is that they get the team together, they get the Megazord formed, or, whatever, Kurino or anything like that. And then they spend most of the series doing individual focuses on either one member of the team or two members of the team. And it gets really repetitive when it's only like the 6 members. But when you have a 10-member team, it gives you a lot more variety to it. So that's what they did with this particular year. And I think it's Kyoryuger. Yeah, I think that's what the name of it is. But the thing is that for this particular year, they got an American he's been living in Japan for a while. He's actually really fluent in Japanese. But when they had him do his lines, they had to force him to speak his English lines completely in broken English, similar to how the Japanese will speak it.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of Japanese, especially when Super Sentai airs, which is usually early Saturday mornings, a lot of them are kids who just can't comprehend the English language that well.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. So it's not like them saying, "Oh, speak like a dumb American." They're having him speak slower.
Essentially.
Because these kids are also learning English in school.
Yeah, and it's the same way with anime, too. It's like, it's not like they're intentionally, fucking it up. It's just more of, they're having to speak it this way. Because, I mean, there are a lot of things that are in the English language that just do not exist in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And that they've either had to invent through katakana, or they just have to try to speak it the best they can.
Those words are so fun. Like, ice cream.
Yeah.
Terubi,
Yes.
Terebi. Yeah.
Paraiden.
Helicopter. McDonald's. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of an interesting take on it. Speaking of interesting takes, though, like, of course, on the horizon is the upcoming Ghost in the Shell live action
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
0 out of 10. Will not watch again. But it's a really kind of an interesting situation what's going on with that. Because, like, when it initially got announced, even I was kind of like, really?
Mm-hmm.
We gonna stick a white girl up in this thing again? You know, because, I mean...
The race isn't the problem. They don't need to remake it.
Well,
Do a live action. No, they don't.
I will, or like, it's kind of one of those deals, like, after seeing some of the trailers for it, it's one of those where, like, a part of me really wants to root for the movie, because it looks like they're actually taking a really decent, like, stylized approach to it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and it looks like they tried.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're actually giving a damn about making the flick.
They even gave acceptance to, who is it? What's her name?
Who, Scarlett Johansson?
That's it, ScarJo. Yeah, they gave acceptance to ScarJo being who she is, because they said in the trailer that there's been an attack, the only thing that survived is your brain, we put you in this new body. And so they've kind of gone with the Ghost in the Shell lore and saying that, yeah, it's okay. She doesn't look like how you think she looks, but it's still her. It's still the Major.
Yeah, like, I kind of, I'm going to assume that there's definitely going to be some major variances to explain why, like, besides that bit there, to explain why they have her in the body of a white girl. Because, I mean, otherwise, I mean, it's just kind of, like, blatantly, it's one of those deals where, like, you maybe could have gotten away with ScarJo, like, 10, 15 years ago, but we're now kind of in a situation where we're in a much more heightened sense of awareness about how much Asian Americans are getting shit on for when it comes to roles in Hollywood, and how much they're really not being cast and stuff they should be. Like, another really good example is going to be is Iron Fist. There's a giant controversy going on with that one right now too, because, you know, you had Marvel who had the chance, because, like, Iron Fist, as much as he's a great character and he's been written as a great character over the years, especially in the more recent runs in the 2000s, he is conceived as the white savior Asian American stereotype, or the white savior. Like, he's the white guy that's going to come in and learn all your shit, and he's going to do it better than you. And it's just kind of reinforces just a lot of really shitty stereotypes. And so when it came for the Iron Fist casting, there were a lot of people who were hoping that Marvel would buck the trend and actually go with an Asian American Iron Fist. You know, because that way it would, you know, like, it would kind of like, you know, because Marvel's been going off on this whole, like, the last few years in the comics, which I'm sure you probably have seen, about, oh, we're diversifying our heroes and we're doing this and doing that. We've got a female Thor, a black Captain America now, or Miss Marvel is a Muslim, and all that stuff. So they were hoping that something similar would happen with the Iron Fist casting. Well, instead, they cast a white dude, and they're going with the Danny Rand character and origin.
I think that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, because if they would have casted an Asian American, the purists would have been complaining because it wasn't a white guy. And then, you know, if they would have, you know, done what they've done now, then you have people that are saying, why couldn't they have gone with an Asian American actor? So I think they just made their decision, and then, yeah, just stick with it.
They're just dealing with it. I think that's the same thing that's going on with Ghost in the Shell. Like, I personally would have preferred them to get a Japanese actress. Like, there are so many Japanese actresses who are decent in English who could have fit that role.
But just to play devil's advocate, I do understand the reason why they cast big names, because if you would have gone with someone that isn't known in the US, who would have gone to see it? Because a casual moviegoer needs to have someone needs to have someone that they recognize. If Transformers didn't have Mark Wahlberg and just had some bloke, then,
it did,
you know,
for the first couple of them.
No, but he, what's his name? Shia LaBeouf. That was him, right?
Yeah, it was Shia LaBeouf.
But
No,
he
no,
was
no,
on
no,
the
no, no, no,
rise.
run, 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 run.
Yeah, he was on the rise though. Like, he wasn't a nobody. He was an up and comer that was making a name for himself and that sort of thing. But like with Ghost in the Shell, had you gotten someone appropriate for the role, I think that the average person probably would. You need that star power. Like look at Matt Damon's movie, The Great Wall. Yeah, well, but you see what I'm saying, because they've spent a lot of money making this film into this big budget action movie, and they've actually gotten good actors from China to be in this movie. But in order to sell it to the U.S., they want to have a big name to get butts in the seats, and Matt Damon is one of those guys.
But
because the example of that I have is a movie that came out in 2013, maybe 2012, called Red Cliff. Red Cliff was a movie about, I think, either the tail end. It was at the end of the
Three
beginning.
Kingdoms.
It was the end. Yeah, the end of the Three Kingdoms.
Climactic battle of the Three Kingdoms.
That took place at Red Cliff, and it was a strictly Chinese movie, and it was freaking phenomenal. It was like watching the Chinese version of a movie like Troy or something with Spartans and like Roman tactics, because you actually got to see the formations that the Chinese armies used and how they organized their troops. It was a fascinating film. It was like 4 hours long. It was like Chinese Lord of the Rings.
But
it was all Chinese actors.
Cao ruled the way nation.
Yes, exactly. And it was all Chinese actors, and nobody saw it.
Well,
nobody saw it. We did, but still, we're different. We watch anime and stuff like that.
We actually knew what Ghost in the Shell was before it was announced for the movie that didn't need to be made.
But Red Cliff is the example I use because nobody saw that. It was a box office failure. But it was a fantastic movie that everybody should watch. So I think that's why they're getting someone like Matt Damon that people know. And like, oh, it's Matt Damon's new movie.
The problem is that, again, in today's social media deal,
yes,
the problem with the Great Wall is that, like, because I'll use another film that's like another similar example, Snowpiercer, which is the Korean-directed film, which just happened to have Josh...
Captain America in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, Chris Evans and Josh Hartnett, I believe, were both in that one, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But it's all in how you market your perceptions out. Like, with Snowpiercer... Yeah, they were in the flick, but they weren't raised to be the stars of the flick.
Yes.
It was very made apparent that it was part of an ensemble,
mm-hmm.
which meant that the film didn't necessarily set the world on fire with its box office records here in the States, but it still helped the film do well enough to where it was considered a success. The Great Wall, on the other hand... Like, it was pretty much branded as, again, the white savior movie with Matt Damon. And with how people are in today's social environments, that immediately caused the film to crash and burn. And that's why it was a complete failure at the box office.
But the thing about that is, I think people... Wow, it really was a failure. 35%.
Yeah.
But I think that, people really are sensitive nowadays. And I think that a lot of people really did jump the gun. And, of course, the marketing didn't help. You watch the trailers for it, and yes, it's looking like, oh, Matt Damon, he's the savior of the Chinese in their time of help, or their hour of need. Yeah, their hour of need, all that crap. But I haven't seen it, of course, but I watched reviews, because I watch a lot of review channels on YouTube. And that was addressed, and they actually said that that's not the case at all. Matt Damon is actually... like learning from them, like he's this dirty like thief, and they tell him like have some respect for yourself, cut your hair, all that kind of stuff. So he's not really a savior, and even then they're saying that in the grand scheme of things in the movie, he's just some guy, like he really doesn't even have any major roles. He's just an archer, but he's actually very skilled. But from the marketing,
it looks like he's the big deal.
Exactly.
It's like
yeah.
He may start off as a nothing thief, and he learns everything from them, but he learns from them, and he's, fighting the foggy bad, whatever the fuck
it probably would have
on.
been better if they took the 13th Warrior approach.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Which I know the 13th Warrior is a film that gets shit on a lot, but I liked it too. But the thing about the 13th Warrior is that, you had Antonio Banderas' character go in, and again, like... Even in all the trailers and everything, he's set up to be like he's just the extra guy. Like, and then when you watch the film, of course, it's apparent that like he really is just the extra guy. It's really more about these Vikings that are like trying to settle this old score. So
that was a good movie, man. I don't know why people didn't like that.
I vaguely remember it.
I just remembered it from Blockbuster. Hey
yeah.
guys, remember Blockbuster?
Not fondly.
Yeah.
But saying like bringing this all back over to Ghost in the Shell, it's kind of one of those situations where like I hope that like no matter what, I hope the film does well.
I do too. For the good of the community, it needs to do well.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where like if we're going to get really decent anime adaptations, because the fact of the matter is that they're coming. No matter how much the fans want to sit there and cry and moan and scream, the anime adaptations done by Western studios are going to be going into full force.
Who remembers Dragon Ball Evolution?
I was waiting for it. For it.
I mean, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, and if like with how Ghost in the Shell is looking, with the fact that it does look like they're actually trying to give a shit, you know, this needs to do well. Otherwise, we're gonna get more Dragon Ball Evolutions.
But we just need smarter people in Hollywood, other than these like old men that are like, "What is my kid watching? Let's make a movie off of that. My kid loves it." You know, before we get our live action Steven Universe or some crap. But you know, if you're looking at the anime universe, if you really just stop and take a look at what series are out there, there are many movies that write themselves. I go back to it again, but Black Lagoon, it's a movie. It really is. That's a Hollywood movie that you could do with little effort. But as opposed to something...
none.
Yeah, almost none. As opposed to something like Gundam, which would actually require way more effort and a bigger budget and may not be a success.
Didn't they have a Japanese live action?
They did. It was
G-Savior.
G-Savior. Well, the problem with G-Savior was that it wasn't really a Gundam movie. It was like a sci-fi movie, and then they threw Gundam in at the very end of it.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't even know
plot,
if it's...
other stuff's going on, and it's like, oh, we're gonna get in a mechs and fight, and then there's a Gundam. It's like there's no build up or nothing. It's not even talked about.
Yeah,
it was bad, but it felt like it wasn't meant to be a Gundam movie in the first place.
They just slapped the license on there so they could try to milk some money out of a middling sci-fi movie.
Absolutely.
Well, I think no one sells shit like the U.S.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, unfortunately, for the people who wanted to see someone else, like Scarlett had to be there.
Yeah, I agree. You needed that big name to bring people out.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those deals where it's just like I said, I hope the movie does well, because it's probably going to be the only way that we're going to get not only decent anime adaptations, but that they're finally going to pull more Asian American actors or Asian actors in general into major productions. Because
and they're getting through. I mean, look at Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
A few years ago, nobody knew who he was, and now he's in Star Wars.
The Force is with him.
Yeah, he's
I don't know
Yen.
him.
Hey, you don't know who Donnie Yen is? You really don't?
No, I really don't.
He's a action movie star from, I believe, Hong Kong.
mainly known for the IP Man series.
Ip Man, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The story of Bruce Lee's mentor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also not a huge Star Wars fan either.
That's okay. No one is. We all hate it. Star Wars is gay.
Is it?
Yeah, it totally is.
Totally about crossing lightsabers.
Yep.
All the time, all day.
The tips
And then
touch.
spooning afterwards.
It's like, oh man.
Just
Force.
watch out for catching syphilis.
That's right. That's actually
Whoa, that is like an interesting bit right there.
And I'm Hayden Christensen.
Yes. Because as we know, you hate sand because it's so coarse.
Yep.
Unlike
Sand does get everywhere.
Gets
Ask Gara.
It gets everywhere.
unlike, Hans, who is so smooth. Oh man, yeah, I think with Ghost in the Shell is gonna be one of those where, for those who are listening who are have the obvious issues with the flick,
Did we trigger you?
no, we trigger everybody who listens onto here, including
Eventually.
ourselves.
You know what would be
Eventually.
hilarious? If you were into BDSM and your safe word was triggered.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh lordy.
That'd be a long
Anyway,
hour.
that's my thought for the podcast, folks.
Yeah.
What are yours?
I like
So-
trains.
I like trains.
Whatever happened to the Full Metal Alchemist movie? Like, it came out in Japan.
No, I think it's still in
It's
pre-production.
still in production.
I don't even
Okay.
think they've shown us who's playing Ed.
Okay.
Like I remember seeing.
No, they have.
Alphonse. Oh, they have.
Because I saw that. There's a teaser
Oh,
out.
there's a new one out. Okay.
1 second, right? 1 second when he comes out and talks to Ed. I mean, to Alphonse.
The trailer that I saw just showed Alphonse, and I was like, "Well, who's playing Ed?" And then that was the end. But I guess
No,
there's another one out
I
now.
saw the Ed bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's Full Metal Alchemist.
It's
I mean, let's
doable, but it will live and die on its CG.
not only that, but it also will live and die on its writing too. Because there are some
Nah, not even. Just you can copy and paste Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
You really can.
try telling that to the folks who made the Attack on Titan movies. Because that shit should have been easy. It's just
it's so funny. You think it's so easy to just why don't we just take the story and just put it, cut some parts out and make it a 2-hour movie. Now let's just add some stuff.
Well, most
No,
likely an idiot producer got their hands on it and go, no, it has to be this.
I want to
It'll
make
be
the movie
more
I wanna make.
believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's like I have to get my vision in there,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden
of Attack on Titan.
yeah, then it's like all of a sudden it's a fucking alternate universe version of the fucking story. I'm just like, no, like why the hell would you do that, man? Like, I mean, it's kind of like it's like, you know, it's kind of sad that like the best like, you know, Japanese like anime adaptation live action wise is still like Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It is
Well,
still
that's
the
because
best.
it's in the best period of history ever.
That's
That
right.
and you know you don't need to do anything. It's just like you know, it writes itself. Number one and number two, it's a period piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not
And he
that
also
hard.
had a lot of people that were passionate about the project, from all the actors down to the director and then the staff itself. That's all I'm hoping that we're getting with Full Metal Alchemist. Otherwise, there are just gonna be a lot of really pissed off people. Speaking of like Japanese reactions and stuff, though, like another really interesting thing that's caught my eye has been like how the Japanese are reacting to the movie Power Rangers that's coming out here.
Oh, I have not seen
in
the
a short
reaction.
while.
I have not seen that.
How are they reacting to that?
A lot of them are kind of like really impressed because it's just like, you know, when you watch a lot of Japanese toku shows, whether it's Super Sentai or Kamen Rider or even Garo or anything like that, like you can tell they make that shit on the cheap.
Oh yeah.
It's like basically the budget that's on this Power Rangers flick would probably be enough to fuel like 100 years of Super Sentai production. You know, that's how cheap fucking Toei is a lot of the time.
But that's part of the charm of the Sentai series. How, you know, back porch and...
I've gotten a little bit better. The Kamen Rider series especially. I mean, I haven't watched Sentai for many, many years, and then I got back into it through Kamen Rider Kiva, and I was surprised at how good it looked, because like you said, I thought it was going to be really cheesy. I mean, of course, it's still rubber costumes and stuff like that, but still, it did look a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah, with Kamen Rider, they tend to throw a little bit more money into that show than
Okay.
Super Sentai because
Garo as well.
yeah, Garo like they do. Well, Garo has shorter series
Yeah.
and it's aired late night
For those that don't know, Garo was Super Sentai After Dark.
basically.
Which
It
saves
was
me
more
the,
adult.
saves
Yeah.
me the trouble of asking what Garo is.
Yep, it's the Mark of the Wolves.
Yep.
That's Garou.
Fighting game references. Same word, Garo.
Yeah. Basically the protagonist, like where like when he does his henshin,
Uh-huh.
he transforms into a heavily armored
Golden Wolf.
golden wolf.
So he's in Krenos form.
Mm-hmm.
I just out-referenced all of you.
But yeah, it's like
You could say
Garo's.
he's a Buster Wolf. Anyone? Alright, I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, like
Is it
Garo's.
Bust-Ass Buster Wolf?
Yes. But yeah, Garo's a really interesting show. It actually spawned a couple of anime adaptations as well.
Yeah, I heard there was an anime for it.
Yeah.
Is it actually out?
Yeah, it's out. It's up on Funimation at least.
I might give that a shot.
Yeah. But yeah, like, but also like, their main deal is like, you know, the other deal they wonder is why in the world is Americans so fascinated with Zoo Ranger, which
Yeah.
is the series that it's adapted from, because it was actually considered to be like kind of one of the not so great Sentai series. Like in Japan, like Zoo Ranger is just kind of like so they don't understand like why we hold that with so much reverence.
Mm-hmm.
Even though for us, like, that was the first season of Power Rangers. That's where all the really good shit happened, you know.
And really, it was just happenstance, because I'm sure Saban was just like, that one. Let's take that one.
Yeah,
It
pretty
was-
much,
yeah,
because
on
it was
there.
dinosaurs, which was like something that's always popular in American culture to
Yeah.
begin with.
Children
So.
lived in dinosaurs.
It's kind of like Gundam Wing. I mean, it was a lot of people's first exposure to this type of entertainment.
So
In
sad.
the case of Gundam Wing,
So
Gundams. In the case of Power Rangers, Super Sentai teams. I know it was my first actual knowing exposure to them.
sad. Yes, same. Mhm.
Yeah.
And the bad acting, the rubber suits, the
But unlike
make my monster grow
Pills. First Series Syndrome, I actually like other Sentai series and don't really hold Power Rangers with any great reverence.
I do to an extent. Like, basically, like, the original run through Lost Galaxy, like, has a lot of really good, like, had a lot of really good writing to it. Like, the first couple seasons, not so much. But a lot of, like, Power Rangers started taking a dramatic uptick when a guy named Judd Lin took over as a writer. And what he did is he actually did a lot of original storylines and made it all work. Like, for example, like Power Rangers, like, he came around the Turbo era, which is when the, like, I think if you guys remember, they had the kid Power Ranger on that one.
Nope, I watched half the first season of the original when I was younger, and then after that, I started going outside.
Yeah.
I didn't even get that far. I did make the mistake of watching the movie, though.
Yeah, I saw the movie as well.
Yeah.
I stopped around the part when Zed came out.
Yeah, so it was around the Thunder Zord era when that started up.
Lord Z, baby.
That's
Yeah.
Zoltan.
Zoltan?
Zoltan.
Oh, okay.
From Dude, Where's My Movie We're Seeing?
His brain was exposed.
But yeah, I mean, like, the first like run of Power Rangers, like, it gets better starting from the latter half of Turbo through what would become Power Rangers in Space and then Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. And then it kind of starts getting a little hobbled here and there. But there are some like really like the Time Force is probably one of the best seasons around. SPD is really decent. Mainly being one of their first New Zealand shows, and RPM is probably like the best pinnacle of it. Mainly because that was their last year with Disney. It was like Power Rangers was just gonna get canceled, and they were gonna
with Disney.
Yeah. Because what happened is that
They were Saban, but they were on Fox.
yeah, and then what ended up happening is that Saban ended up selling Power Rangers along with a lot of the 4Kids stuff.
Really?
Because yeah, he controlled 4Kids, all that nice little
But
jazz.
I thought he still owns the rights. I thought that was how this movie's getting made.
Well, like it's a convoluted story. He
Oh,
sold
boy.
the rights to Disney, and Disney had it for a few years. And Disney was like going along with it, making original shows, but they kind of like the writers and stuff they had were fucking it up so bad that the ratings tanked. So when it came to what was known as the RPM season, they're like, well, we're just going to cancel this, and then we're just going to do a nostalgia remake of the first season. Which, if you guys remember, they, for a brief time, Disney was airing a remaster of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with, added comic book effects and all that other shit. But, because with the RPM season, though, that was right before that, because they're basically like, look, we're canceling your shit after this year. We don't care what you do. This is how much money you've got to play with. Have fun with it. So it's kind of like they did this crazy scenario where it's pretty much like Mad Max apocalyptic type shit. It's really, really, really good stuff.
I was hoping Morpheus would call the Red Ranger and go, "Hello, Red Ranger.
What if I told you?
I think you're ready to talk about what I want to talk to you about."
But I'm afraid we're out of time.
Yeah.
They're coming, Red Ranger.
But in the meantime, Saban had re-strengthened himself financially and was making a comeback with his Saban brand. So he actually rebought the rights back from Disney, and that's why he has them today.
Okay.
It's been kind of iffy ever since he got the rights back, because at first he tried to bring back all the original Mighty Morphin team, which kind of made things really kind of crappy for the first 3 seasons of Power Rangers that came out, which was Power Rangers Samurai, and then the Mega Force and Super Mega Force, which kind of bastardized the Anniversary Gokaiger adaptation. But then they've gotten it kind of righted a little bit ever since. So the crazy part is this year's Super Sentai in Japan, which is the proper Q Ranger, they actually got a lot of their design help from Bandai of America and the Power Rangers branch. Basically to make it easier for Saban and Bandai of America to bring all the toys and everything over here. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Great anime talk, too, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's like we were kind of talking about anime stuff and we just completely...
Sentai!
Yeah, Tokusatsu time!
It's all a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything. We do want to kind of close out tonight, though, with kind of our end of the night, miscellaneous talk. And, I just kind of want to bring up something that just kind of, irks me a lot about conventions. They haven't been to, this is nothing against conventions themselves. But for the last few years, up until about, maybe 2-3 years ago, you would have these certain panels that would always get approved at cons. And they were kind of flooding them at one point. And it was what we now know as the Ask a Character panel.
Officially the worst parts of fan fiction and a popularity contest. Both
I'm raising my hand. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
No? Oh, man, okay.
All right. This is the whole setup for an Ask a Character panel. Basically, you would have a bunch of folks submit this panel in, get it approved, and what the whole setup is supposed to be is that these folks are supposed to get into their full cosplay and then do a panel
No, that
in
sounds
which
horrible.
folks would ask them questions, but instead of, talking to the cosplayer Billy Bob, you're talking to Naruto, or you're talking to Luffy, or you're talking to Ichigo.
Really?
And
You'd be better off talking to a wall.
yeah.
I'd love to see the one for Saitama. That'd be great. That'd be great. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they're banned.
Yeah,
They're
like
not allowed.
They are really. They're banned now.
yeah, because what happened was that cons kept getting flooded with them. Because you got Ask a Character for Death Note, Ask a Character for Fairy Tail, Ask a Character for like 10 to you'd have 10 to 20 different panels that were all Ask a Character panels, and it's like, don't get me wrong, in the anime fandom, especially in conventions, because of like how expensive it is to do to get voice actors and talent from both here and from abroad. Anime conventions tend to rely on a lot more fan-generated panel content than a lot of other conventions per se. And sometimes it can produce some really good stuff, but a lot of times it produces some not good stuff, like Ask a Character panels.
Yeah. In my experience, it would get out of control very easily because the characters would interact with each other while the panel was going on. So things would get out of control. And they would, start yelling at each other, and, there was no discipline. And
So, why don't we institute a new alternative to the Ask a Character panel? Yif a Character panel. The next moron that asks to have an Ask a Character panel gets unwillingly yiffed for about 3 hours. That'll get him to cut it out.
Seconded. Let's submit it.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's going to be our new, when we get ready for the next convention and we submit our panel, it's going to be like, Yif a Character.
We'll have a stable of furries in the back. It's like, hey, all right, come on. Yeah, something stupid.
Oh, so you haven't checked the extra room.
Oh, God.
Oh, lordy. And here we go once again. But yeah, just ask it, just sitting there and just of course, the Naruto one would automatically be broken because nobody would be cosplaying as Kishimoto to where Sasuke could rub all over him. I love the way you draw me, senpai.
You are my favorite.
Yes, you are my favorite. Oh, goodness.
exactly.
But yeah.
That actually probably about does it for this Nevacast. We should likely sign off and let our loving audience get back to their exciting lives.
A little forced there, Hobbs. You sure you don't want to hang out for another 30 minutes? It's like, we should probably leave. Woo! Getting tired of sitting here.
That's all I know.
No, that's just generally about how long we run.
Okay, fair enough. I thought you just hated
And
people.
leave.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'll leave. But I'm taking these amiibos with me.
Take
I
that
don't
up
know,
with
the
Chris.
cat might actually beat you to getting the amiibos first.
Yeah, that's right.
I completely just stumbled through that sentence. Anywho.
Hey.
This is Delivery Man signing off.
And
This is Hans signing off.
Blast.
Meh.
alright, gang, this is your boy Fearless Beerly Nuwanda. Off blast!
No. It is 5, 4, 3,
1.
Blast.